Good afternoon. You must have all had your mouths full of food. Good afternoon. Thank you for including me in the All Florida Pets. I'd actually like to say thank you for welcoming the message of Will I Am. This is a name that I hadn't paid much attention to until I'd asked my daughter what music I should use for my introduction with you today. She told me if time permitted, I might want to play the entire song, and if okay with the planning committee, I should include the video as well. As a past Rotary actor and a member of the Rotary family since she was 2 years old, she understands that other causes relate well to our own mission. The words in this song spoke Rotary to me as well, and I hope you agree. A special thank you to the All Florida Pets team for making this happen. I am very excited to be with you. You are truly living the Rotary dream. Serving as club president, I think, is the best opportunity in all of Rotary. And in our organization's interest in and efforts to change to be relevant, your timing could not be more transformational. You can be the champion and you can be the hero as all of us in Rotary connect the world. You are here this weekend for one of two reasons. Your club recognizes the leadership within you, or you missed a meeting. Let's assume the first. Because of your leadership, you can break rocks, you can be a master, don't wait for luck, dedicate yourself, and you will find yourself standing in the Hall of Fame. I guess as I say that out loud, it sounds a bit grandiose and perhaps pretentious. However, that is not my intention. My goal for all of you is for you to be the best that you can be and be the leader that you know you are. In preparation for your service as club presidents, this is a great pets experience. In addition to meeting wonderful new friends, you're going to have the opportunity to share your successes, your challenges and concerns as we serve Rotary in 2019-2020. And I hope I can provide you with some inspiration to lead your club in support of our Rotary Foundation. All right. Am I doing something wrong, Marshall? Too far. There we go. Perfect. I first learned about the Rotary Foundation in 1993 when I was at Pets as my own club's president-elect. I was completely captivated by the notion that our club's international service projects could be matched by district-designated funds and matched again by the World Fund of the Rotary Foundation. I'm all about free money. What I failed to understand was that our contributions to the foundation are the mechanisms which provide for that free money. When I came back from Pets with unbridled enthusiasm, I did a terrible job of making it happen. It wasn't until several years later that we started to connect the dots in terms of taking advantage of what the foundation had to offer. We quickly had 3 group study exchange team leaders in a row, and that's when our club started to figure out the value of our Rotary Foundation. At that time, our club was giving about $2,000 a year, a club of 65 to 70 members. And most of that was coming from the club, not our individual members. This thing doesn't like me. still too far. Should I just tell you next slide? Okay. Fast forward to about 2005, when our Every Rotarian Every Year initiative was implemented throughout the Rotary world. I personally believe this was the greatest thing we had done at the foundation to date. Erie has helped our foundation become real to our Rotarians. We finally started to ask members to support the foundation of the organization that we care so much about. And my experience has been that when asked, Rotarians will say yes. My professional background is in sales. I learned early on that you sell the sizzle, not the steak. In other words, if we are going to ask our members to support our Rotary Foundation, we need to share the impact of our giving. We cannot expect our members to simply write a check if we don't tell them what their gift is doing. And when we share the good work of our contributions, our members oftentimes ask, what more can I do? Next slide. The only thing better than the introduction of Every Rotarian Every Year was the implementation of our new grants model and the ability of each district to establish some parameters and guidelines in which our club's contributions are directly correlated to how much the clubs can receive in district grants. The bottom line becomes, if you give, you get. My engagement in Rotary has given me the opportunity to witness doing good in the world that I would not have had otherwise. I would like to share two of my most memorable and recent experiences with you today. Almost exactly 1 year ago, Rotary's Chief Strategy Officer, Tom Thorfinson, and I had the chance to travel to Liberia with UNICEF. UNICEF is Rotary's primary implementing partner in our polio eradication efforts. They wanted to share with us just how much our two organizations have in common, in the hopes that we will continue to be partners once we finally eradicate polio from the face of the earth. We experienced maternal and child health efforts carried out in various public and private clinics. The mothers, and they were all mothers, no fathers, with their precious babies waiting for their turn for hours and hours, all after they had traveled 3, 4, 5 hours to get to the clinic, to say nothing about their return trip home. We saw a public hospital which had just completed a new water, sanitation, and hygiene project which provided clean water in operating rooms, hand washing stations in the public areas, and separate and private men's and women's restrooms. And on this particular day, we had the opportunity to witness wellness checkups, which included polio immunizations for little ones like this beautiful child. I am proud to tell you that Liberia has been polio-free for 7 years. On our last day of field experiences, we had the opportunity to visit a school for girls that UNICEF had started in an urban slum about 3 years earlier. The girls are aged 5 to 25 and have had horrific things done to them in their minds and their bodies, including drugs, physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, and most had been prostituted. I can tell you, I would not have survived one of those atrocities, yet these girls did. And now, thanks to UNICEF School, they have the opportunity for a productive life. The school offers vocational training for candle making, cosmetology, sewing, cooking, baking, and teaching. Several of the girls shared their stories, which were beyond moving. I was in awe of these young girls whose lives have been challenging, to say the least. And each of them spoke with the confidence that I would only have expected from an adult. They were my inspiration. This school year, for the first time, boys have been admitted to the competitive program because UNICEF recognizes that in order for the culture to change, the perpetrators of many of these atrocities against these young girls, the male population, has to be part of the solution. Good for UNICEF. These are the kinds of partners that Rotary must have in the field. One afternoon, Tom and I were walking along the beach of the Atlantic Ocean. It sounds very, very beautiful, but in Liberia, it's not a beautiful part of the Atlantic Ocean. A young girl was walking as well. She had a basket on her head as she was selling treats to visitors to support her family. We had a fabulous interaction with her and found out that she is only out selling on the beach in the late afternoon because she's in school otherwise. Being moved by her entrepreneurial spirit, I bought one of her products, and she was kind enough to allow me to take her picture. The next day, about the same time, we were out walking again and came across the same young girl. This time, another younger girl was with her, also carrying a basket of goodies. When I asked who this was, she said, "This was my friend." I said, "Your friend looks an awful lot like you. Is this your sister?" She says, "Yes." We had another great conversation, and I told the young sisters that that day would be my last, as I was leaving before they would be out of school the next day. We were all disappointed. Before we left each other, I asked them 2 favors. They were most agreeable to my request, even before they knew what I was going to ask them. I asked if they would stay in school and not get pregnant young. They said, "We will and we won't." These young girls were in school and dedicated to helping to support their family, and they were wonderful. If they stay in school and if their parents continue to support their efforts, they will survive and they will thrive. I am confident they will make a difference in their community and in our world. Throughout our time with UNICEF, they showed us their involvement in child and maternal health, disease prevention and control, water, sanitation and hygiene, basic education and literacy, economic and community development, and through all of those areas combined, peace and conflict resolution, most certainly matching our areas of focus. In early August of 2018, as chair of the Rotary USAID Partnership Committee and the committee liaison to the Ugandan Rotarians, I traveled to Kampala, followed by a visit to the Nakivale refugee settlement in southern Uganda and home to the first Rotaract club in a refugee settlement or camp. The gentleman in the front row in the light-colored pants with the cane is actually one of the lead USAID staff members in Kampala, and he is a polio survivor. So talk about being a very special event. While my experience with the Ugandan Rotarians and their efforts to develop a $2 million water, sanitation, and hygiene sector program was amazing, I would like to focus on our time with the Nakivale refugee Rotaractors. The hotel we stayed in was a 1-hour drive to the entrance of the refugee settlement. Once we crossed the entrance into the settlement, we had another 45-minute ride to our first stop, which is north of the area in which the Rotaract Club is located. On that first stop, the Rotaractors were cleaning up the community with another group of young professionals who are hoping to charter the second Rotaract Club in a refugee settlement in the very near future. It is important to note that most refugees are educated and are relocating out of necessity. They are resourceful, willing to work, and highly motivated to make a difference wherever they call home. They are not refugees by choice. Our next stops were to sites in which the Nakivale Rotaract Club has implemented projects, including providing improved record keeping in the health clinics, creating a sewing and knitting center to provide opportunities to the women of the settlement who in turn have developed micro-lending programs which they use to buy materials and replenish their supplies when they sell their products. The Sewing and Knitting Center was developed through a district grant with Rotary clubs in District 5950 in Minnesota. Additionally, they are developing fresh vegetable gardens, optimizing the soil, and teaching many sustainable practices and efforts to avoid water runoff, such as tree fencing and soil erosion solutions. We could all take sustainability lessons from these Rotaractors. As our official time came to an end with the Rotaractors, they served us a beautiful lunch and a program in which they shared how Rotary has changed each of their individual lives. It started out slowly, but by the end, each Rotaract member had shared with us. It was incredibly moving and an experience that I wish every Rotarian could have. Rotary has made an amazing impact on each of their lives. Regardless of how little they have, they recognize that others have less, and that is who they are helping. These Rotaractors have gone from being beneficiaries to being the benefactors. This experience reinforced the pride I feel in being a Rotarian, and I am so grateful that I was able to share this experience with them. When we concluded our tour of their many projects, we asked if we could see where some of them worked. Although it was a Sunday, the business community was alive. Word must have gotten out that they had visitors because we were warmly greeted everywhere we went. After we visited the business district in the settlement, we were invited to see the water point for that particular zone. 4 communities within the zones were scheduled to fetch their water, their family's weekly water ration that particular day. They're allowed 20 liters per family member each week, and they are randomly assigned the order in which they draw their water. When the water is gone, it's gone. So you definitely want to have a low number. The process was orderly and peaceful, and again, everyone was so happy to greet us and show us what was going on. Now, if you look at this setup, this is really pretty amazing. You see the pipe coming out, and you see the top of a plastic water bottle. I've never seen this done. Some of you maybe have seen this done. They cut off the bottom of the water bottle, took the cap off, and put that upside down into the can. So except for the fact that they were visiting with us, there was no water waste because the water was going into the funnel. I thought that was incredible. I was pleased that the water was crystal clear, though my happiness turned to dismay quickly when the water secretary from one community told me that even though it's clear, the water was filled with bacteria that was making the community members sick, particularly the children. That made me sick to think that a non-government organization has not fulfilled their contract to ensure that the water they are pumping is clean. The NGO that was hosting us guaranteed us that the message would get passed to the Ugandan Office of the Prime Minister, who regulates the NGOs and the safety of the refugee communities. The most meaningful moment of the trip was near the end when a few mothers invited me to meet their children. I was humbled by their interest in me. Every child, through their own initiative, shook my hand. All I could think of was, oh my gosh, I might have just shaken the hand of a future president or prime minister of Congo, Sudan, Rwanda, Burundi, Somalia, or perhaps Benin. They all have the same goal, to return to their homeland when peace will allow it. And I truly believe because of the peace-building initiatives they are learning and living each day, they will be the generation to return to their home countries, and they will become the leaders we need so desperately throughout the world. Now that I have shared my stories, and I thank you for listening, I would like to transition those stories to our Rotary reality, inviting our Rotarians to make a conscious and deliberate commitment to our Rotary Foundation. Going back to will.i.am's lyrics from his song Hall of Fame, I would ask you to do it for the people, do it for your pride. How are you ever going to know if you never even try? As your club's president, I would ask that you set 4 Rotary Foundation goals for the next Rotary year. To date, there are 6 new cases of polio in 2019, 4 in Pakistan and 2 in Afghanistan. This is still 6 too many children being impacted by this dreaded disease. Our number 1 goal for the foundation is that we ask you to please make a commitment of at least $1,500 for our polio eradication efforts. Your $1,500 will become $4,500 with the Gates Foundation match. Take your efforts to your community. We in the Western Hemisphere have not had to worry about the polio virus for many years. However, if we don't eradicate polio everywhere, it is a plane ride away and a danger to children everywhere. Our second goal is that we ask you to please ask every single member of your club to support our annual fund in giving to every Rotarian every year's initiative. Do not underestimate anyone's capacity for giving, and we will never know if we never ask. Number 3, ask every member of your club to consider supporting our endowment fund through their legacy planning, in which their gifts will live into perpetuity. Please don't assume our members aren't interested in leaving a gift to the organization to which they have contributed so much of their valuable time and talent. And number 4, encourage your clubs to become engaged in district and global grants. And in doing so, ask them to think big. Plan to make lasting impact and change in your local and our global communities through our areas of focus. As President-elect Mark Maloney has shared with us, and he may say this to you tomorrow, if he does, act like you haven't heard it, okay? And I quote, "Our first emphasis is to grow Rotary, to grow our service, to grow the impact of our projects, but most importantly, to grow our membership so that we can achieve more," end quote. My addition is, as we connect the world. Thank you again for your warm welcome. I believe you will be great Rotary Club presidents because you will be the teachers, you will be the students, you will be the believers, and above all, you will be the leaders. Don't wait for luck. Dedicate yourself, and you will find yourself standing in the Hall of Fame. Thank you for your past, present, and future support of our Rotary Foundation. Thank you.